Music is a mysterious mathematical process whose elements are part of infinity. There is nothing more musical than a sunset. He who feels what he sees will find no more beautiful example of development in all that book which, alas, musicians read but too little, the book of nature. Claude Debussy.
While the Apple Hill Gardens may look naturally gorgeous, they require hours of pruning, weeding, and digging to help maintain their beauty. Apple Hill's director, Lenny Machinsky, spearheads this work and is joined by a community of generous garden lovers, including board members, neighbors, Apple Hill staff, participants, alumni, and porcupines. In the late summer of last year, Lenny sat down to chat with one of these volunteers, former board member extraordinaire Emily Carr.
Hi everybody, I'm in the back garden right now with one of my favorite people and one of Apple Hill's most wonderful people, Emily Carr. Emily Carr has been a trustee of Apple Hill. She's worked in the gardens at Apple Hill. She loves Apple Hill, and we love Emily. So Emily, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. And the first question I wanted to ask you was how long you were on the board.
For 2 terms, for 6 years.
6 years you were on the board. And a lot of times when people are on the board, we ask them to volunteer. And so they're in the office filing. But at Apple Hill, they're gardening. They're cleaning up the grounds before the summer. So I was just wondering, was that a shock for you? How was that?
Not at all.
Not at all.
It's just such a refreshing, wonderful experience to be here and help in any way. And the gardens are very important here.
So what's some of the stuff you had to do to clean up, like the paths, or what
Oh,
would
the
you do?
paths coming up to the Hoffman and to the barn and all around, and the sugar house as well, and down here by the Ann Havel bench.
Yeah.
I remember Elise and I down here with our bug bafflers.
Because of the black
The
flies.
black flies are here in June. But it's to think that you're helping to make this place more beautiful is such a pleasure. It's just a pleasure.
And you helped plant a lot of flowers that we've had.
I have, and I brought some of my own.
You have them from your own garden.
I did,
Yeah.
and you let me have a couple of things that.
Yeah, we traded plants.
We traded some
Yeah.
plants.
Yeah.
Yep, and then of course there are the cabins down in the woods that some people don't even know
Yeah.
exist.
I actually think a lot of people don't realize that there's 100 acres that we're taking care of.
100 acres.
100 acres and 41 buildings. So yeah.
It's
Well, you've
a lot.
contributed a lot, Emily. You've been fantastic.
Well, it's just been incredible.
I wanted to ask you, now you're as a concert goer, you know, when most people go to a concert, they go to a hall and it's very quiet and everything. But at Apple Hill, what's nature like with the music?
I come from Jaffrey. My ride is extraordinarily beautiful, and by the time I've gotten here, it takes about a half an hour. I just take a lot of breaths and take all of this in, and then go to the barn, which to me is absolutely the best.
Magical.
It's magical, and it's casual, but the brilliance that takes place here. The music, the people, the string quartet, board members, it's magical.
So nature is part of
Nature is very much a part of it. And one little aside is that once the concert starts, the big barn window is open, and pretty soon you will hear birds chirping, and I know it's in reaction
Yeah.
to the music.
I always wonder about that because I never know if the birds just sing at night or if they're singing even more because of the music.
I think they're singing more.
You think
I
so?
do. They do sing at night, but
I like to think that too.
Yeah, I really do.
They're
because
part of our audience.
They are, and look at the flowers and shrubs that
Yeah.
are welcome them. And
Yeah.
it's just it's
Yeah.
beautiful. Music, nature, the gardens, all
The people.
integral.
The people like
And
you,
the
Emily.
people.
Just before we say goodbye, this is a good time publicly to say how much we love you, how much I love you.
Oh.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for being such a great part of Apple Hill.
I want to thank you.
Oh.
It goes way back. We went on the board at the same time.
Yeah, we did.
And you encouraged me to stick it out because it's the most incredible experience I've ever had. I've never met so many diverse and interesting people, participants, musicians, to get to know the string quartet.
Yeah.
Everyone is so approachable. That's not always available at a really formal music
Yeah.
setting.
Yeah.
And I love this rural setting. It just brings out the best in everyone.
Well, Emily, I think the fitting thing to do after this interview is to garden. So would you garden with me?
Lenny, of course.
All right.
I will.
So, Lenny, one of the things I think that's amazing about music is that it's happening in time, and paintings are kind of static. And then gardening, I think it's amazing that it's kind of both. There are these beautiful vistas, but they change over time. And we were just saying it was a gardening day, how many years ago?
Well, maybe 4 years ago.
And we planted a stick
A stick.
And I remember thinking, this is when I was you were first getting me into it. I was like, that is ridiculous that we're planting a stick. And now it's amazing.
Yeah, I think what's amazing is that this is a cutting from a neighbor's garden, right?
Yeah.
Somebody just down the road. And they said, oh, it's going to take off, it's going to go crazy. And it really did. In fact, it's now early September, and there are actually some pink flowers on it. It's kind of still blooming.
Do you know what it is?
I think it's a Vigilia bush, but if that neighbor's watching, please.
It's
I think that's what it is. It's
and
great.
I've never seen it flower before, which is amazing.
Yeah, it flowers, like in the first session. It's gorgeous. Yeah. Yeah, you planted it.
Awesome.
So you did a good job.
Summer musical life at Apple Hill has encouraged many alumni to continue playing chamber music during the year and perhaps pursue a career in music. Another greener aspect of Apple Hill's campus inspired alumni cellist Joshua Perkins to follow a different, noble path.
Hello, Apple Hill community. My name is Joshua Perkins. I was a Apple Hill participant for 6 summers, I believe summer of 2010 to 2016. I was both a participant and I was a cabin counselor. So I'm talking in behalf of how pretty much Apple Hill inspired me to be where I am right now as an environmental educator of the North Carolina Arboretum here in Asheville. So I remember actually the first time I went to Apple Hill, I was astounded. Not just the fact that I was on the East Coast and I'd never been in that area, but of the natural aspect of being surrounded by the forest and the wildlife, and just the immersion of the environment really threw me, and I really took pleasure in that and being a part of that community. I enjoyed making music, playing with others from around the world, and just being a part of making music for Apple Hill. I really took pleasure in that. It was actually one day where I remember I was sitting in the grass, kind of in front of the practice cabin on the lawn, and I realized that I wanted to make it a profession, a career, to be surrounded by forests and to allow others to be immersed in environments like Apple Hill and educate people of the outdoors and environment. So initially I decided to pursue sustainable forestry, and I went to Warner Wilson College in Asheville, North Carolina, near here, actually, the Arboretum where I work. But halfway through my junior year, I actually switched concentrations to environmental education, where it's more broad. Not only do I teach youth and adults about the forests, about trees and tree IDing, but also about other things like water ecology or soil, wildlife like native mammals, native reptiles, amphibians. Just a broad aspect of environmental education is the things that I do here. I facilitate and teach that. So I really took enjoyment of that. Another thing too that I'm realizing, being surrounded by people, so it's diverse, people from around the nation and from around the world, from different cultures and backgrounds. I realized I also, I enjoy being immersed in that. Me being a young African American man, I want to be around diverse people, and I want to be surrounded by people of multiple cultures and different backgrounds. So even here, I also do outreach and I educate and facilitate youth from different cultural backgrounds, from different minority neighborhoods, environments as well. And I really do take pleasure doing that, because if anything, I'm influencing people to enjoy and to learn more about the outdoors, the environment. So basically, I want to say thank you, Apple Hill, for allowing me to be a part of your summer camp experience throughout these past years, and that will forever be, Apple Hill will forever be a milestone where pretty much influenced me to pursue the career and the life that I am doing right now, and I really do find a positive aspect. I really do enjoy that. So thank you, Apple Hill, and love you all. Hope you all stay safe and blessed out there. Goodbye.
I'm here with Elise, and Elise, do you remember how this garden got started?
I do. So Philip, a student about 10 years ago, really wanted to stay at Apple Hill after the summer was done. We wanted to find something that he could do to help us around the grounds. And so Lenny asked him to dig this, the garden was not here, to dig this plot, and he dug, he composted, he worked really hard. And I love the story because now it's one of the most beautiful spots on the campus, and I think. In fact, I've heard participants say that the first and last thing you see at Apple Hill is the garden in front of the farmhouse.
Well, Lisa, I don't know if I heard it from Monty John or where I heard it from, but I heard that the fall garden, it's fall, it's beginning of September here, puts on the most incredibly vibrant display of colors, and here it is.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Thank you, Philip.
Thank you, Philip.
So you might be wondering why, while we're talking and doing this, there's all this clanking in the background.
You know, we're in a part of the campus now that we're calling the Central Campus, and this is where we're doing our construction. We put it on hold for about 3.5 months. We started again in June. Right now they're digging a new road access to the back field, and basically all this is going to be redone, and we're going to get a new ramp here. So Mike has his shovel. You want to tell us what you're going to do?
We're in front of the iconic porch during the summer, like these daylilies that get deadheaded by people walking by all summer. So these are going to get obliterated for the new ramp, which we don't want to have happen, so we're going to move them over there. So this is starting to dig.
Mike. And so where are you going to move them?
We're going to move them over by the end of the road.
By the road. That's a great spot.
For my instruction.
Each garden at Apple Hill has a tale to tell of its own unique past. Last October, Apple Hill String Quartet violinist Elise Cooter spoke with alumni violinist Emily Hartshorn about the story of the vegetable garden.
So I'm here with Emily, who is a longtime past participant and director, violinist, and gardener. So what years were you at Apple Hill?
The first year I came to Apple Hill was 1984, and I was a participant, director, just all-around member of the community until 2004.
Got it.
So about 20 years.
Yeah. And I'm always curious, why did you come to Apple Hill, or how did you know about Apple Hill to come here in the 80s?
I was going to school at St. Paul's over in Concord at the time, and studying violin there. I wanted to come somewhere where I could play music in the summertime, but I wasn't someone I knew that I wasn't going to be conservatory bound, so I wanted to have a place that I could come that I could play music, but also not under the pressure that some of the more rigorous music camps maintain. So I came to Apple Hill and I really like the multi-age aspect of it, intergenerational, and basically, you know, the rest is history. It was just a good match for me.
Yeah, fantastic. Legend has it now that you were the one who started this vegetable garden back then. So I guess I'll ask if that's true, and then also why. I remember when I was a kid that you were gardening here, and I remember thinking how impressive all that was.
Yeah.
And of course enjoying all the vegetables. But so were you the person to start it, and why?
Yeah. So when I moved up here, I lived here for 7 years as well, and I felt a real need to connect to the grounds. I felt like I needed, it was something that helped me to feel like this was my home. It was the transition from college to living up here was a little disorienting, and having a place to garden really helped me. So another woman named Laura Lake was sort of my gardening mentor. And I remember talking to her at one point, and she said she grew up in the area, and she was a very good gardener and landscaper, and said, the earth is kind of your friend. You plant a seed, it will grow. And so I, took faith in that, and then came down here. And this actually, I was told, was the site of the original vegetable garden for Apple Hill back in the day when all the musicians lived here back in the 70s. So I kind of regenerated this plot. I remember going down and renting rototillers, getting that hauled up in the van that we used to, have and for transportation. And it was a really big job. I would go to the dump in Keene where they have clean fill that is composted, and 5-gallon bucket by 5-gallon bucket be putting stuff into the garden. So, just getting the soil to a point where it could grow vegetables. And then my goal was really just to be able to have something from Apple Hill, from the land, to be able to provide for the campers. Mm-hmm. So it was not a garden that fed the camp entirely, but there was always a little bit of, I could take some mescaline mix and I could, sprinkle that into the big salad, and it would always give a little bit of locally grown food for our meals.
Well, that's amazing. Well, this is what it is now.
It can come back. This is kind of what it looked like when I started it.
Well,
so.
I think that's also very hopeful.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
For 2 or 3 years before this, that's exactly what you described as what this provided for Apple Hill
it's really cool,
which was amazing, and people loved it. So I think thinking of it being regenerated again and again, but it has such a wonderful and rich history, which is amazing. Yeah. And just lastly, what do you do now?
I have been an educator since 1990, and from anything from a preschool teacher to a classroom teacher of art, music, kindergarten, early childhood. I was an administrator for 13 years, and now I'm back to teaching first grade.
Wow. And you still play violin?
And I still
because you're a wonderful
play
violinist, Emily.
I have not played as much as I would like, but this is one of the things that one of the reasons I made the switch from administration back to the classroom teaching is because I hadn't played for the 6 years that I was a full-time administrator. Yeah. And when I realized that, it kind of broke my heart. So I am looking forward to starting up again.
Good. Well, just like the garden, you can come back again. They can come back again and again. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me and for regenerating the garden when you did.
Yeah,
it's
my pleasure.
Part of the history. Thank you.
Great to be part of it.
For the first summer in 50 years, there was no joyous cacophony of 20 rehearsing chamber groups wafting through the air of Apple Hill. But there was still music, the singing birds, the buzzing insects, the rain and wind in the sighing trees. In time, we will all return to join their beautiful and mysterious chorus, and until then, they will carry on, living and growing.